Billionaire takes a taco hug from a broke girl and finds true love. Avery Brooks stood behind the greasy counter of Taco Flyaway, a tiny fast food joint squeezed between a pretzel stand and a duty-free shop at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta. The air reeked of stale salsa, and her 8-hour shift slinging tacos for cranky travelers had just ended. All she wanted was to grab her leftover stash and hightail it home to her little sister, Riley. Clutching a flimsy paper tray with 3 soggy tacos, her beat-up sneakers squeaking on the linoleum, she squinted into the crowd. Frazzled moms, loud businessmen, some dude in flip-flops yelling about a delayed flight. "Where's Riley at?" Avery muttered, wiping sweat off her forehead with her sleeve. Her 15-year-old sister had texted that morning. "Picking you up after your shift. Don't eat all the tacos." A promise Avery was banking on hard. Then she spotted it. A tall figure in a dark jacket, brown hair, cutting through the chaos near Gate B12. "There she is! Riley, thank God!" Without a second thought, Avery bolted forward, tray wobbling like crazy. "Riley, I survived!" she hollered, dodging a suitcase and a kid with a melting ice cream cone. She threw herself into a hug, slamming into a rock-hard chest. The tray went splat, guacamole exploding like fireworks, salsa dripping onto her shoes. "I missed you! Oh, crap!" This chest was way too solid, and it didn't smell like Riley's cheap vanilla spray. It was fancy, like cedar and cash. Avery's stomach dropped. She stumbled back, tacos hitting the floor, and looked up. Not Riley. Definitely not Riley. It was a guy. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp gray eyes and a jawline straight out of a magazine. His pricey jacket was now smeared with green gunk, and he stared at her like she'd just landed from Mars. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry!" Avery yelped, dropping to her knees to scoop up the taco wreckage. "I thought you were my sister. She's kinda tall and I'm, emotionally blind or something." Her face burned hotter than the hot sauce she'd been dishing out all day. The guy raised an eyebrow, voice low and dry. "Tacos, huh?" "I'm more of a coffee guy, but you owe me a new jacket now." He brushed off the guac, his gaze cool but teasing. "Who are you?" "Avery Brooks, taco slinger, walking disaster, not a hug terrorist, I swear." She stood, shoving damp hair out of her eyes, bracing for a lecture. But he just watched her, those stormy eyes flicking over her flushed face, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Gate C7, don't be late next time." Then he turned and walked off, leaving her in her mess, heart pounding. "Who the heck was that?" she mumbled, watching him disappear into the crowd. Probably some stuck-up rich guy. Back home, Riley, sprawled on the couch with a plate of cookies, giggled. "Avery, stop throwing tacos at people. I'm starving here." Avery shook her head, clueless that Miles Decker, billionaire CEO of Decker Tech, had just been jolted awake from his icy life by her chaos. 3 days after the taco explosion, Avery was still rattled. She stood behind the Taco Flyaway counter, clutching a salsa ladle, eyes darting over every passing traveler, half expecting that jacket guy to pop up demanding dry-cleaning cash. "You're losing it, Avery," she muttered, shaking her head. But those gray eyes and that damn smirk kept haunting her, so much that she accidentally dumped salsa on a lady's hand. "Oh, my God. Sorry, ma'am," she stammered, wiping it off, her face turning tomato red. Then she heard it, sharp, steady footsteps. She looked up and nearly dropped the ladle. It was him, the jacket guy, now in a fitted gray shirt, brown hair slicked back, striding toward her like he owned the whole dang airport. "One coffee," he said, locking eyes with her. "This is a taco stand, dude. Starbucks is that way." Avery pointed, but he just smirked. "I like your tacos better." And just like that, he became a regular. Every day, Miles Decker, though Avery didn't know his name yet, rolled up, ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, and tossed out random questions. How do you make spicy tacos without crying? She started getting sucked into his teasing. One day she spilled salsa all over his table. Oh crap, am I turning you into an appetizer? He leaned back, cool as ever. I'd be the priciest dish here. She cracked up, totally forgetting the packed line behind her. Another time she handed him a little hellfire taco by mistake, the kind that torched taste buds. Miles ate it all, face unchanged, and said, "Spicy but worth it." "Are you human or a robot? I'd be bawling for a day." Avery gawked. He shrugged. "I'm used to pressure." She figured he had some stressful desk job, clueless it was the billion-dollar kind at Decker Tech. Their chats got longer. Avery opened up about Riley, her wild little sister, her whole world since their parents died. They worked at this chain that tanked, lost everything, stressed out till the crash took 'em, she said, eyes clouding as she pictured her mom and dad hunched over bills at the kitchen table. "I sling tacos to keep Riley going. Forget my bakery dreams." Miles listened, saying only, "I work an office gig, too." Lots of pressure, not much fun. He hid that he ran Decker Tech, craving the normalcy he felt around her. But the calm didn't last. One afternoon, Riley texted, "Sis, I'm burning up, can't breathe." Avery called, no answer. She bolted home mid-shift, finding Riley curled up on the couch, fever raging. Panicked, she rushed her to the hospital, head in her hands, mentally tallying bills till she felt sick. A coworker texted, "That gray shirt guy asked about you. I said you're at the hospital." When Miles showed up, standing a few feet away, she didn't notice at first. "I can cover the bills," he said, voice firm. Avery snapped her head up, cheeks flaming. "Who are you to barge into my life? I don't need your pity." He frowned. "It's not pity. I want to help." "No thanks," she yelled, turning away. The real drama hit the next day. Avery was zoned out in the hospital waiting room, TV blaring. "Miles Decker, CEO of Decker Tech, seals massive San Francisco deal." It was him on the screen. Her jaw dropped. "I threw tacos at a billionaire?" Her phone buzzed, her co-worker spilling, "Decker Tech bought out that chain your parents worked for, left them jobless." She flashed back to her parents clinging to each other, crying over lost paychecks, then the wreck that stole them. When Miles walked in that night with a coffee for her, she shot up. "You're Miles Decker, aren't you? Don't lie. You wrecked my family, and now you're playing nice." The coffee hit the floor. "Avery, No!" She cut him off, tears spilling. "I spilled my guts to the guy who ruined us? Get out!" He shook his head. "I didn't know about that, I swear." But she screamed, "I hate being played," and turned her back, leaving Miles frozen, fists clenched, eyes dark with hurt. Avery sat hunched on a hard plastic chair in the hospital hallway, clutching a cup of water that had gone cold hours ago. The beeping machines from Riley's room echoed down the corridor, each sound hitting her like a punch to the chest. Her head was still spinning from the blowout with Miles, or rather Miles Decker, the Decker Tech billionaire who'd kept her in the dark about everything. "I'm such an idiot," she muttered, raking her hands through her tangled hair. "Threw tacos at a billionaire and then let him play me like a fool." She didn't want to believe it, but the truth kept smacking her in the face. Decker Tech had bought out the chain her parents worked for, leaving them jobless, stressed to the breaking point until that awful day, the car crash that took them forever. Miles didn't cause it himself, but his company was a domino in the chain that wrecked her life. And yet there he'd been, handing her coffee, acting like he cared, like he didn't know a damn thing. "Jerk!" she gritted out, eyes stinging. She stood up, ready to grab some hot water to clear her head, when her phone buzzed. A text from her taco flyaway coworker. "You see the news? Miles Decker just signed a billion-dollar deal, and he's been hitting up our stand. Bet he's into you." Attached was a sneaky pic of Miles at the counter last week, staring at her with that familiar smirk that now made her want to puke. Avery chucked the phone onto the chair, hissing under her breath, "Into me, my ass!" He's a freaking liar. An old lady in a wheelchair nearby jumped, but Avery didn't care. She just wanted to punch something. The next morning, Riley woke up, weak but okay. Avery sat by her side holding her hand, forcing a smile. "You're good, and that's all I need, kiddo." Riley scrunched her nose. "Were you crying? Don't tell me you dumped tacos on someone else?" Avery laughed despite herself, but her chest felt heavy. She hadn't told Riley about Miles, didn't even know where to start. Then she heard those familiar footsteps. She looked up. Miles stood in the doorway, holding a paper bag, his gray eyes locked on her. "Avery, Don't!" She shot to her feet, voice shaking. "You've got the nerve to show up here? What, to flash your cash?" Riley blinked, confused. "Sis, who's that?" Miles stepped forward, setting the bag on the table. The smell of grilled cheese sandwiches, Riley's favorite, wafted out. "I brought food for your sister, and we need to talk." Avery crossed her arms, eyes red. "Talk about what? How you knew all about my family and played dumb? How you came to my taco stand to laugh in my face?" Miles frowned, voice low but steady. "I didn't know about your parents' company, Avery. I swear. After you said it, I checked. Deckertech bought that chain before I took over. It wasn't me directly." She scoffed. "Oh, how convenient. So why'd you hide it? Why not tell me you're Miles Decker from the jump?" He paused, then said, "Because I liked how you treated me. Like a nobody. No one else does that." "So I was your entertainment? Some broke idiot for you to mess with?" she yelled, tears spilling over. Riley grabbed her hand. "Sis, chill." But Avery yanked away, pointing at Miles. "You know what? I thought you were different. I thought you actually gave a damn. Turns out I'm just a dumbass who trusted a rich guy looking for a laugh." Miles clenched his fists, eyes darkening. "That's not true. I care about you." "Shut up," she snapped, voice breaking. "You care so much you let me spill my guts to the guy who trashed my life? Get out, Miles. I don't want to see your face again." She turned, hugging Riley, shoulders trembling with rage and hurt. Miles stood there, helpless for the first time ever. He wanted to explain that since that taco fiasco she'd made him laugh, really laugh, after years of nothing money could buy. But seeing her cry, he knew it wasn't the time. "I'll go," he said quietly, leaving the bag. "But I'm not giving up, Avery." Then he walked out, leaving her with doubts clawing at her insides. That night, Avery sat by a sleeping Riley, phone in hand, scrolling through articles about Miles Decker, the cold CEO who never let feelings get in the way. But she kept seeing his eyes from today, not cold, but wounded. "You're an idiot, Avery," she whispered. "Why'd you trust him?" Deep down, she wasn't sure if she hated him or was just scared to admit something else. Meanwhile, in his swanky Atlanta penthouse, Miles stared out at the night, clutching a crumpled taco wrapper from her stand. For the first time, he wondered if he was losing the one thing that actually mattered. 3 days after the hospital showdown, Avery tried to act like nothing happened. She was back at Taco Flyaway, scooping salsa, muttering under her breath, "My life's a soggy taco mess. Total wreckage." Riley was doing better, but every time she asked, "Where's that jacket guy?" Avery dodged it, pretending to be busy. She didn't want to talk about Miles Decker, the billionaire who'd set her heart racing, then stomped it flat. But that empty spot at the counter where he used to sit kept nagging her, whispering she missed him, even if she hated admitting it. Miles had vanished. No texts, no sign of him. Avery told herself, "Good, I don't need him." But that night, when she got home, a fat envelope sat outside her tiny apartment door. Inside were ownership papers for an old bakery on Atlanta's outskirts, Dreamscape Bakery, where her mom once worked before the chain collapsed. Tucked in was a handwritten note. "I can't fix the past, but I want to give you a future. This is yours, no strings. Miles." Avery flopped onto the couch, hands trembling as she held the papers. "He's nuts," she mumbled, but her eyes stung. Her mom used to dream of her own bakery, telling Avery about the smell of fresh bread every morning. Decker Tech had indirectly snatched that dream away, and now Miles was handing it back. No catch. She wanted to rip the envelope to shreds, but couldn't. "You're such an idiot, Avery," she groaned, burying her face in her hands. The next morning, Riley got discharged. Avery brought her home, trying to play it cool, but Riley was sharp as a tack. "Sis, what did that guy send you? You look weird." Avery sighed and spilled it all. The taco fiasco, Miles' real identity, the bakery. Riley's eyes bugged out. "Holy crap, you've got a billionaire crushing on you and you're still mad? He gave you a bakery." Avery snapped. "It's not about the money, Riley, it's about trust." Riley shrugged. "If you don't trust him, go ask him yourself. Stop moping around like a train wreck." Avery huffed, but Riley was right. She texted Miles, her first message in 3 days. "Meet me at the bakery, 6 p.m. Don't be late." At 6, she stood outside Dreamscape Bakery, hands shoved in her hoodie pockets, heart pounding. Miles showed up in a plain shirt, no CEO polish. "You actually came," he said, voice softer than usual. Avery crossed her arms. "What's with this bakery? Trying to make me owe you?" He shook his head. "No. I dug into it. Decker Tech bought that chain before I took over, but I still messed up. I'm fixing it. Not so you owe me, but because I don't want to lose you." Avery blinked, voice shaky. "You mean that? Or is this just another rich guy game?" He stepped closer, gray eyes piercing. "Since the day you threw that taco at me, I couldn't get you out of my head. You're more real than anyone I've ever met. I was dumb to hide stuff, but I'm not playing you, Avery. I swear." She went quiet, tears rolling down her cheeks. Miles raised a hand to wipe them, but stopped. "If you still hate me, I'll leave. But you deserve the truth." Avery took a deep breath, then lunged forward, hugging him tight, face pressed to his chest like that first day at the airport, minus the tacos this time. "Thanks for not ditching me," she whispered, voice choked. Miles froze, then wrapped her in his arms, hands trembling. "I'd never ditch you." Under the bakery's dim lights, Avery looked up, eyes wet but bright. Miles leaned down, breath warm on her cheek. "I suck at this," he rasped. But she cut him off with a kiss, soft at first, then deeper, like everything just broke open. He pulled her close, fingers threading through her hair, and for the first time, they knew there was no going back. When they pulled apart, Avery gave a teary laugh. "I'm still a klutz. Can you handle it?" Miles smirked. "I love your chaos." In that dusty bakery moment, they found each other, for real. 6 months after that bakery kiss, Avery Brooks stood in Dreamscape Bakery, now alive with the smell of fresh bread and buttercream. She wore a simple white wedding dress, hem dusted with flour from messing with a tray right before the big moment. Miles Decker, in a sharp gray suit, stood beside her, grinning. "You're still my favorite disaster, Avery." Outside, Atlanta drizzled. But inside, the place glowed with string lights and laughter from Riley and a handful of friends. It was a small wedding. Just Riley as maid of honor, a few taco flyaway co-workers, and Miles's closest buddies. Avery held his hand, heart thumping as she said her vows. "I promise to love you, even if I spill tacos or flour on you again, which I totally will." Everyone cracked up. Miles smirked back. "I promise to love you, even if you chuck the whole bakery at me." That first taco day, I knew I was toast. They swapped rings and kissed to cheers, Riley shouting, "Don't drop the ring, sis." After they cut the cake, a giant taco-shaped masterpiece Avery made, gorgeous but a little lopsided. Miles hugged her from behind, whispering, "You're my home, chaos and all." She turned, teary-eyed but smiling. "You're mine too, rich guy." That night, under the bakery lights, they danced, awkwardly, with Avery stepping on his toes twice, but he just laughed. Riley yelled, "I give 'em 8 out of 10 soggy tacos." Avery knew from that fateful taco toss at the airport she'd found where she belonged. And Miles, the guy who once didn't believe in love, now only wanted to hold on to her forever. So what's your take on Avery and Miles's taco-tossed, heart-thumping roller coaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Rate this messy love story from 0 to 10 soggy tacos. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss more chaotic, swoon-worthy rides. Craving extra doses of love, tech, and a dash of disaster? Click the end screen right here for tales that'll smack you harder than a guac-drenched jacket and melt your heart faster than a fresh stack of Atlanta airport tacos.